Hey there folks, I'm Mark, in affiliation with Spectrum Pulse, and it's Billboard Breakdown. I should be less surprised that this week is as busy as it is, because here I was going with the thought that since the album bombs are fading, things might quiet down, where instead we actually got a new #1 and a slew of new arrivals that are basically rushing in to fill a vacuum in an increasingly awkward year on the Hot 100. And I'll be completely honest, there might be more off-kilter weirdness that's coming because nothing here seems built for sustainability, but case in point, our top 10, and especially our new #1, Rockstar by DaBaby featuring Roddy Ricch. I'll admit to being half right with this one, in that I did expect it to go to #1 courtesy of the insane streaming and strong sales and radio. Just not yet. And at this point, with the #1 turnover as wild as it's been, I've got no way of predicting whether it's gonna hold a slot. It's one megastar single or a viral trend to get away from getting knocked off. That's why Savage by Megan Thee Stallion and Beyonce continuing to have strength at #2 is interesting, because it dominates sales, it's right behind it on streaming, and has considerably better radio. All about the margins there. And think about some of that also contributes to Blinding Lights by The Weeknd rising up to #3. Yeah, it might have reached its peak on the radio and streaming, but sales were better than expected this week, although I'd probably chalk up its gain and that of Say So by Doja Cat featuring Nicki Minaj #4, despite even sharper losses on streaming and the radio, probably more to the drop-off of Rain On Me by Lady Gaga and Ariana Grande to #5, which despite solid streaming and a radio run, took a nosedive on sales. So while I think it'll stick around in the top 10 for a bit, it only got #1 because of the sales traction, even if I do think it might be able to peak again. Then we had 2C Slide by Drake stubbornly holding on at #6. The radio might be sick of it, but somehow the streaming is only getting better. And Don't Start Now by Dua Lipa still holding #7, because despite really just having radio, it's not falling off as fast as it could. And what could and should fall off fast is Intentions by Justin Bieber featuring Quavo, which actually gained a spot to #8 despite hitting what seems like a peak on the radio, but I'd argue it picked up the spot because The Box by Roddy Ricch is fading down to #9 in all channels except streaming. Finally, cracking the top 10 for the first time, and I'm kind of ambivalent on whether that's a good thing, it's Roses, I'm in Beck remix by St. John at #10, with very real traction in pretty much every channel. Hell, the way it's going, it might not get to the top, but it's absolutely gonna stick around. What's not sticking around are our losers and dropouts. With pretty much the entire Gunna album bomb going away, we all saw Something to Prove by Lil Baby, and Ritmo by the Black Eyed Peas and J Balvin gone too. Don't get too excited, they both clinched their year-end list spots, yay. And most of our losers are tied to residual album bombs as well. From Gunna's Dolls on My Head with Young Thug, and Cooler Than a Bitch with Roddy Ricch went to 73 and 81 respectively, and from Future, Trillionaire with Youngboy Never Broke Again, and Solitaire of Travis Scott went to 95 and 100. Outside of that, off the debut, Need It by Migos and Youngboy Never Broke Again went to 76. In Your Eyes by The Weeknd slipped off that Doja Cat remix to 53. Beer Can't Fix by Thomas Rhett featuring John Party looks to be starting its exit at 51. And Gooba by 6ix9ine continues to collapse at 37. I mean, that's good, let's keep going. But like with every album bomb, we have to consider what's gonna rush in and fill its space, and I gotta say, I'm not impressed at all. Sure, in the returns we got Stupid Love by Lady Gaga back at 42 thanks to the release of Chromatica, and Girl in My Dreams by Rod Wave at 91. That's a decent song. But we also got Singuez Cornell by Archangel and Sec at 93, and That Way by Lil Uzi Vert at 94. I thought we had gotten rid of that last one, but our game seemed really to be characterized by country rushing in to fill the gaps, and a lot of it doesn't seem sustainable. Again, I might be mostly fond of Drinking Alone by Carrie Underwood continuing up to 77, or Die From a Broken Heart by Maddie and Tay at 70, or even In Between by Scotty McCreery at 69, but is it worth another rebound for Be a Light by Thomas Rhett and Co. at 60, or Here and Now by Kenny Chesney going up big to 48, or Heartless by Diplo and Morgan Wallen at 39, even if it is riding the boost from the album and it won't last? And it's not like the rest of the songs rising are good. If the World Was Ending by JP Saxe and Julia Michaels picking up the 58, Out West by Jack Boys and Young Thug somehow still here at 61. This should have fallen off this week as it's below the top 50 in over 20 weeks, so I guess Billboard's giving it an exception for another chance. Or you got Believe It by Party Next Door and Rihanna at 63, or Ride It by DJ Regard at 65, or Grace by Lil Baby and 42 Doug picking up to 85. The one promising growth I see is Don't Rush by Young T and Bugsy featuring Heady One actually getting boosted to 79. I mean, I don't expect a UK hip-hop song to have a huge run, but I think it's promising. But we actually have a pretty sizable number of new arrivals filling in the gap, so let's get this started with, from 97, One Beer by Hardy featuring Lauren Alaina and Devin Dawson. Well, we're here. Time for me to explain who the hell Hardy is. Now, if you've been familiar with mainstream country, you might recognize him as a writer affiliated with Big Loud, the label behind Florida Georgia Line run by Joey Moy, their producer. And the best way I can describe his contributions are mixed. He's got a few legit great songs, but as of last year he started releasing projects of his own, notably Hicks Tape Volume 1, a collab project that frankly shows his unbelievable network. And this is a song with consistently underrated Laura Alaina and likable, if utterly forgettable, Devin Dawson, and I can't be the only one who thinks that this should be way better than it is. For one, why is Devin Dawson even here when he's just gonna be filling the same role Hardy does on the verse with a very similar vocal tone? Hell, why is Lauren Alaina even here given that she's stuck on glorified backing vocals with no verse? I mean, I know why she's here. It's a song about one beer turning into a hookup and now someone's pregnant and kids are there, and it's nice to have the girl feature on that sort of song, but she's got no distinctive presence, and I think that might be more telling. And while I kind of like the subtle heartbeat and the bass off the ticking percussion, you would think the twang would feel a bit more organic when the hook starts to feel so muddy around the buzzy groove. This is starting to become a consistent problem with Joey Moy's production, and even if the pedal steel and acoustics sound pretty good, they shouldn't just turn to mush on the hook. In other words, I see where this could have been better, it's just not quite there. It is passable though. Guess I'll take it. Number 92, Like That by Doja Cat featuring Gucci Mane. Alright, look, I know that some of you are expecting me to say more about Doja Cat's run of controversy. Honestly, I think the situation around her is a total mess. It recast her signing with Dr. Luke in an even more disgusting light. And while she's said and done some really bad things, I'm not about to join the incel backlash pile-on because she didn't show her tits after going to number 1. That being said, if she's looking for a way to hamstring her career, working with Gucci Mane and Dr. Luke again doing a straight ripoff of DJ Mustard is certainly way to get there. And again, it's a similar issue to Say So in that it's more just kind of forgettable and lacking the same tune or flavor that could complement Doja Cat, especially as I think she's a decent rapper and on the outro proves a better singer. Now granted, she's stuck opposite Gucci Mane, who has the line, "Shake him like Elvis, damn near broke my pelvis," and I'm stuck wondering if this is a joke again. Actually, Gucci's entire verse is pretty embarrassing, as he's acting like a treat when a dog sees him and walking off the scene like a hole in my jeans. I'm not even sure if that's supposed to make sense. Either way, it's not terrible, and I see it being catchy enough to last. Thanks, TikTok. But it's not good either. Next, number 90, One of Them Girls by Lee Brice. You're just here for the party. If I'm wrong, then stop me. You know, I've had a long-running and rather frustrating relationship with Lee Brice and really any song he makes about women, but between Rumor and that collaboration with Carly Pearce, I had some hopes for this. And honestly, considering it's a pretty basic song where he's trying to hook up with one of them girls who plays hard to get, that's barely a step away from bro country, I'm actually kind of surprised how much I like this. For one, Lee Brice carries a little bit more gravelly presence in his delivery, and I like how so much of the song is him getting shut down down, but still doggedly trying to flirt, and she is kind of into it. But what might impress me a bit more is a lot of the production. Originally, I thought the kick drum and the electric guitar groove felt a bit too heavy, but not only does the groove wind up feeling more organic, it actually kicks into a hook with the same richer swell and balanced cadence that transitions into the warmer organic solo damn near perfectly. In other words, you know what, maybe it's just taken until now for Lee Brice to really deliver, but this is surprisingly good. I dig it, check it out. Next up, number 88, Lose Somebody by Kygo and OneRepublic. I kind of skimmed over talking about the song when I reviewed Kygo last week, because what is there really to say? It's not like the song departs from the exact instrumental palette you would expect from both artists, grounded into piano, a warm cushion of acoustics playing off underweight percussion, Ryan Tedder riding a pretty robust backing vocal arrangement until a drop that I don't think makes the most out of his expanded vocal range, and a lingering feeling that Kygo could deliver a lot more here. Now granted, a big part of this is linked to the content. Ryan Tedder is leaving or becomes distant first, she then moves on, and now he's complaining about it, and you get the you don't know what you have until it's gone narrative. But maybe it's just me, I don't think Ryan Tedder sells the emotional complexity at all. I don't buy that he's the first one to break things off, and that kind of hurts a song that already is not all that immersive. Now even with that, I do think there's a hook here. I'm more inclined to like Kygo songs than I won't, but this is very far from his best, especially off that album. Number 87, Why We Drink by Justin Moore. 'Cause it's alcohol abuse if you pour one down the sink. Yeah, that's why we drink. You know, I keep getting the feeling that there's a part of me that should turn around on Justin Moore eventually, that beyond the flagrant pandering and the questionable production, that there might be something to him that might stick, given that he's somehow maintained an audience for over a decade, especially as he's always tried to place himself closer to neo-traditional tones, even amidst the height of bro country. And yet, even despite all that, he's gonna rattle off an increasingly nonsensical set of reasons to keep on drinking that of course brings up the red, white, and blue boys and girls overseas. And I'm reminded of when Zac Brown did the same damn thing on Chicken Fried, which is considerably better than this. I think what I find most frustrating about Justin Moore is that his content and approach have never really evolved or developed much unique personality. You give this sort of template to Luke Combs or John Party, I can see there being more to a song like this beyond feeling that it should be funny, but there's no real jokes. And you know what, I don't mind the twangy, distinctly neo-traditional tone of the song. That normally gets me on board, but while it gets me in the door, it won't keep me around. So yeah, just kind of passable at best. Take it or leave it. Number 86, Hasta Dios Diga by Anuel AA and Bad Bunny. Man, Bad Bunny must be a really good sport to keep working with Anuel AA. Again, maybe it's something I'm missing because I don't speak Spanish, but I've never been impressed by whatever personality he claims to have. And this song, prime example of a contrast that does him no favors. Which kind of seems like a shame because while the rubbery reggaeton beat is completely stock, the warbling keys and the whistles, they seem to have a little bit more distinguished elegance than we normally hear from them. Yeah, the hookup content's pretty routine and as casually explicit as it tends to be, but there's a part of me that feels that if Bad Bunny just kind of took over the entire song, it'd be pretty good. We'd be better off. I mean, I'm not sure it'd be great, but it might be more than above average, which really is all this is. Just saying. Number 84, Alice by Lady Gaga. My name isn't Alice. I'll keep looking for Wonderland, Wonderland. I actually mentioned this song briefly when I reviewed Chromatica last week, and I'll be honest, I'm a little bit disappointed that this wound up charting. Well, it's because it's emblematic of the two big issues I had with the album. Pretty underwhelming production and kind of weak writing. I mean, the Alice in Wonderland reference, even somewhat sidestepping the song as she's not Alice, but she wants to lose herself in Wonderland, it feels really cliche for someone like Lady Gaga who can get into weirder, wilder territory. But okay, you know what, if you're gonna go there, shouldn't the song sound more manic or weird than more than just row house-driven dance pop with a rubbery, pulsating groove and some questionable vocal layering and mastering because Blood Pop's producing. Honestly, placing a song this underwhelming and borderline routine as effectively the opener of Chromatica, it might be emblematic of the album's problems, but I will say it's representative of the sound, which again, it's fine, it's passable because Lady Gaga's a great performer, but you won't remember this song in the long term, and I really hope she doesn't push it as a single. Just saying. Number 83, TD by Lil Yachty and Tierra Whack featuring A$AP Rocky and Tyler the Creator.
Riding around town and I'm downtown. Big boy get on back now. Talking bitch shit, I got a sack now. Fucking bad bitches, I'll blow a bitch back now.
Alright, yeah, if there was any chance we were getting a Lil Yachty song this week, it was gonna be this one. Widely considered pretty much the only reason why Lil Boat 3 was worth listening to at all. And it sure as hell wasn't because of Yachty, who is by far the worst thing, provided you can get behind the rote leaden bass, the clip sliding flutters, and the tinkling clanks that pass for a melody with an utter lack of a hook. Now, thankfully, A$AP Rocky's empty flexing, it's fine, even with some questionable ad-libs, and then Tyler the Creator and Tierra Whack just run away with the entire song with more imposing presence, better bragging, stronger flows, and just better punchlines as a whole. And considering Tierra Whack ends her verse with a disinterested yawn, that might say a lot more about Lil Yachty that he'd probably want to admit, especially as he tries to end out the song with one last verse, and no, I've lost interest. I mean, look, you cut Lil Yachty off this, you got 3 strong verses over good production. I mean, it's hard to do on this song, but the only way this is gonna work, so keep that in mind. Number 82, One Big Country Song by LOCASH.
The daylight's gone, we all knock off the edge around 5. Fall in love from a kiss on Friday night.
It's probably not a good sign I had to look up what songs LOCASH previously charted on the Hot 100 a couple years back, which I then discovered were I Love This Life and I Know Somebody, and then remembered exactly why I forgot about them. Weak writing, worse production. Anyway, they wound up changing labels. They're now pushing this single from their album that came out in March of last year, and how on earth did they somehow get slightly warmer acoustics and even a bit of pedal steel, and then keep all the programmed hand claps and the drum machine with a half-rap second verse for a flimsy song where really, despite not everyone knowing all the cliche details, isn't life all just one big country song? And the problem isn't that it's list-driven bro country and everything but the hookup. It's actually how this song feels like a total ripoff of Joe Nichols' old school country song, a deep cut from 2013 that remains one of my favorite songs of that year, mostly because it tried to highlight a heavier emotional through line and resonance that this is no interest in hitting. And thus, okay, look, I'm not expecting depth or heaviness in a bouncy sing-along, but I do expect it to be better produced and written than this. Next, number 78, Got What I Got by Jason Aldean.
The old me before you belongs to the past.
Okay, can I just ask, haven't we run out of reasons to keep Jason Aldean around by now? I stand by him having one deep cut in 2014 I really love, but ever since then he's put out 3 albums that are all utterly forgettable when they're not turgid or just badly produced. And it's not like he even writes any of his own music, so him being swaggering, stoic, and antisocial doesn't even have much of a root to it. So with this second single from his 2019 album, we didn't so much get the tolerable country rock version of Jason Aldean, but the drum machine accented surliness that's a little bit more pop, as his girl will now question whether or not he wishes that he was alone, and he has to try convincing her otherwise. But the problem is that Jason Aldean is such a generally flat singer, and the entire song plays with some Garth Brooks-esque strings and some sharper minor key guitar chords, that he becomes even less believable, and you get why she might not be all that reassured. Now the problem is that that subtext doesn't even approach the song, which is just unpleasant in all its complacency. In other words, it's not good at all. Skip it. Number 66, Taken by Rosalia and Travis Scott.
Ni un amigo nuevo, ni una haría.
Ni un amigo nuevo, ni una haría.
So here's where I admit a pretty big gap in my musical knowledge that's not really explainable in 2020. I'm not all that familiar with Rosalia's music. I know she's gotten tons of critical acclaim and Grammys within Spanish pop for being very forward-thinking and experimental and a great songwriter, and I just have not made the time to investigate further. And so when I saw her working with Travis Scott of all people, I wasn't sure what to expect, and after hearing this, I'm still not sure. I mean, part of it is that the keyboard progression sounds kinda chintzy off the leaden beat, and they're kinda lacking all the atmosphere that Travis Scott normally cultivates, even on songs that aren't his. But then when you look at the hook for how the melody feels off sync with the groove, which when Travis Scott shows up we do get a little bit more stability, the song feels jerky in a really strange way. And I would get that if the sense of unease was intentional, Rosalia's verse all about secret codes of silence and omerta and danger, but then Travis is in prime horniness territory and suddenly I'm a lot less impressed. I don't know, I get the impression that this was more built for crossover and not really representative of Rosalia's work, so maybe I need to hear more? But even if that was the case, I'm not sure sheer bewilderment's gonna win over the mainstream public. Just saying. Number 41, Tell Me You Love Me by Juice WRLD and Trippie Redd.
Tell me you love me. Tell me you love me and you gon' stay. Tell me you love me. Tell me you love me, won't go nowhere.
So, okay, the posthumous single Righteous from the Juice WRLD album was frankly way better than it had any right to be, so I was intrigued where they were going to be going next with a pretty obvious collab with Trippie Redd, and of course it's nowhere near as good. A big part of this is that the brighter guitar back groove doesn't really synchronize well with the hook or the verses, especially with the shapeless bass and the standard cheap trap percussion, and all Trippie Redd is going to contribute here is the hook, which leaves verses for Juice WRLD to sullenly guilt trip his girl and then threaten to kill her if she leaves. I mean, sure, maybe you include this on a posthumous album because it highlights some of his drug abuse and unpredictable moods, and maybe some girls are into all this. But by the second verse, a thoroughly unpleasant vibe has settled in, it feels really clingy, and all the more toxic than anything else. In other words, yeah, this isn't good either. Not a good sign. And finally, number 33, Sour Candy by Lady Gaga and BLACKPINK.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm super psycho, make you crazy when I turn the lights low.
So I turned some heads when I said that this song kicked off the worst stretch on Chromatica, and I stand by that. Unlike with her other guests, Lady Gaga doesn't have great chemistry with BLACKPINK as a group. The writing is once again pretty thin, going to the Candy Girl reference point. Even Sour Candy feels almost routine for everyone involved. But what I find a lot more frustrating is the production, driven heavily off a sample of What They Say by Maya Jane Coles, which in and of itself is built off of more samples. And I can point out how What They Say has been sampled before this decade in both Truffle Butter from Nicki Minaj and Swish Swish by Katy Perry, but I remember What They Say playing when I was at the club in 2010, alongside more colorful and interesting Lady Gaga songs. So why sample a weaker tune that you already surpassed a decade ago? So this just winds up feeling like a photocopy 3 times over, where it's just blurry and underwhelming because Blood Pop's a mediocre producer, and worse still, a collaboration clearly picked because why not utilize a K-pop stan army to goose up your sales and streaming? Just feels really thin and cynical, and a Lady Gaga song should never feel like that. I mean, it's not terrible, but it ain't good either. But yeah, not a great note to end things off on. Got What I Got by Jason Aldean is easily the worst of the week, with Tell Me You Love Me by late Juice WRLD and Trippie Redd as a dishonorable mention. But I mean, there is a bit of promise. Best of the week, I'm gonna go with One of Them Girls by Lee Brice as a welcome surprise and doing the basics really surprisingly well. And honorable mention to TD by Lil Yachty, Tierra, A$AP Rocky, and Tyler the Creator. And if you got rid of Lil Yachty, this would easily be the best tier. Next week though, see, there's barely anything in terms of name releases coming. It could be pretty strange, we'll have to see. Till then, I'm Mark, you're watching Billboard Breakdown, affiliated with Spectrum.